'Tis the season. Today we are getting a jump start on our holiday wood DIYs as part of Christmas in July. You're watching Whiskey and Wet. My name is Whitney, and if you're a Whiskey Craft Buddy, welcome back. I am so glad to have you here for another DIY video. If you're new here or you're not already a Craft Buddy, just hit subscribe down below before you leave so you can join us for DIY and home decor all throughout the fall and Christmas season. Now, I love doing Christmas in July because it allows me to get a jump start on my wood projects. I live outside of Chicago in Illinois, and it gets cold here when we get closer to Christmas, so I love cranking these out in July. They're ready to go, and all I have to do is put them out and style them when the holiday comes.
Everything we're going to be making today is super affordable because they can all be made with one of these 1x6 by 6 foot cedar dog ear fence pickets. I love the smell of cedar. It is my favorite thing to cut, and I grabbed mine at Menards out back in their lumber yard. Depending on your hardware store, you may have to get them inside or outside. I was able to get all the wood for this video under 15 bucks because mine were on sale for $2.46. They were $3.45 regular price. Now, if you can't find these, you can also go with a 1x6 piece of lumber, different fence pickets, scraps that you have. All of these can be adapted. And when you're grabbing wood, please do not pick the top piece because, as you can see, they're super bowed. Make sure you're looking down the wood, and don't get yourself a crappy piece of wood because that will just start you out from the jump with frustration. Just like all my other wood building videos, we're going to start with safety because it is that important. You want to make sure you have good eye protection. I like these. I got them at Home Depot. They go all the way to the side to make sure everything's protected. They're also tinted, so if you work outside, they're like double as sunglasses, which is great. And then lately, I have been making sure every time I'm wearing a respiratory mask down here, just so then that way, especially with the cedar, like little pieces that come off, I'm not breathing that in. Being pregnant, I definitely want to be safe, and also I find I'm not coughing as much, so it's definitely a good idea. So for our first project, we are going to take one fence picket and we're going to cut 35 inches from the bottom. Then we are going to flip it around, measure 35 inches, and cut the dog ear off. So you've got two pieces at 35 inches. And then also you can use scraps for bracing. I'm using 1x2s I already had, but you can also use really inexpensive alternatives like paint sticks because we're not going to need this to support any weight. So once everything was cut, we are going to sand, and with these fence pickets, because they're cheap, they're not finished, so you want to make sure that you're sanding them down well. You can do it by hand, but I definitely would recommend getting yourself a power sander if you're going to be doing a lot of different projects like this. Then to hook this together, I'm going to use wood glue and the braces on the back as well as my nail gun. And you do not need a nail gun for this project. You could easily use finish nails and a hammer to hook it together, or because it's not going to hold a ton of weight, you could also just use the wood glue and let it sit with clamps. Once everything is put together, then it's time to finish it. So we are making a Christmas card display, and I've made these before, but I've never made one like this. I'm going to start by taking some red chalk paint and dry brushing the front. I really loved the look of the knots in the fence pickets, and so I didn't want to lose that by painting it, but I also wanted a beautiful Christmas red. This one's called Imperial by Folk Art Chalk Paint, and I think you can get this at Walmart, Michael's, really anywhere. Once it was dry brushed to my liking, I let it fully dry and then I took it inside where the magic happened. So for my back, what I did is I took some painter's tape and put this box here. I wanted to make sure that this particular button was open because this is how we're going to turn it on and off. I also wanted to easily be able to get the battery pack off. I didn't want to mess with glue, and I kind of wanted a temporary solution. So I've got all this, and all you have to do is hold it down and it turns your lights on. These are from Walmart last year. They've got like 5 different settings, so I stole them off a wreath, so I will buy another pack for this and my wreath for Christmas. Then I just started weaving it down one way. I went all the way down one way, and then I came back up the opposite direction. So then that way in the front, we have this beautiful lit piece of wood that you could easily clip your Christmas cards onto. I have wanted a lit card display for so long, and what I love about this too is you can also put photos on there. So if you've got some holiday photos, that's what I usually do, especially at the beginning of the season. If I'm decorating in November and I don't have any Christmas cards to use, I just go ahead and put photos from Christmas past on there. This is awesome. It also allows you to leave it up a little bit longer, and those lights are just going to be the best come Christmas.
I want to give a huge thank you to Shannon over at the Cozy Christmas Cottage for having me as part of this collab. I am one of 12 channels participating today, so you will have a ton of Christmas inspiration. There will be a full playlist down in the description, so you can click that and head over and check out all of the other videos. Now this is hosted, like I mentioned, by Shannon at the Cozy Christmas Cottage, and if she looks familiar, it's because she is also behind the Daily DIYer. Her main channel is the Daily DIYer, but every July she kicks off her second channel. I don't know how she does it. She is amazing. And she posts on both channels simultaneously through the holidays. So she is going to give you double the Christmas fun.
Not only would this next one be an awesome piece to make a bunch of and sell them this holiday season, but I'm making this as a gift, so it would also be a great gift. I saw a couple inspo pictures and I had to kind of wing my way through this to figure out how to create what I wanted. And once I got done doing experimentation, I have a plan that you can then recreate. So here's your cut list for what we're making. You're gonna need 2 pieces at 7.5 inches long, and at the end you're gonna want a 22.5 degree bevel. Now, if you don't have a saw that you can do a 22.5 degree bevel, no worries. What you're gonna do is you're just going to take your sander and sand down kind of an edge so that your roof can sit on it. Then you're also gonna want a straight cut piece at 14 inches, one at 10.5 inches, and then one more at 10.5 inches with a 30 degree bevel. Again, if you don't have a saw, you can go ahead and sand it down and you'll see in a minute why we want some angles. Then we're gonna stain all of the pieces in the color of your choice. I'm using Early American and I think it looks really pretty on this cedar. And then once it's all dry, it's time to assemble. So we've got our 10.5 inch piece in the back and then our 2 pieces with the bevels. You wanna make sure that your bevel is facing in so that you can add your roof. And as you can probably see, it's coming together. We are making a little stable for a nativity set. Now, like I said, if you don't have a saw that can cut those angles, just go ahead and sand it down so the roof sits. This will make it fit flush, but you could easily make it work by sanding it down and then hooking it together. I'm going to use some wood glue for my first side as well as my nail gun, and you could easily use finished nails and a hammer instead. And I'm going to hook the one side on, then I'm going to do the same thing on the other side, and then it's going to be time to add our roof. I'm going to start with my short roof side, and then I am going to add my tall roof side, hooking that in with wood glue and my 1-inch nails into those side wall pieces. And then for the roof, I had to improvise a little bit because my even 30 degree angle is not perfect. So I ended up just taking my nails and kind of getting it to work the best that I could. And it ended up working out great. Then the last thing I needed was a star. So I just took some cardstock, printed out an image from Canva that I thought fit. I sized it to 2.5 inches wide and taped it to where the eaves meet for the little peak to go above the Holy Family. If you're selling these, you can easily buy some stars that you can paint and put on there as wood, but this was a quick and easy solution. If you're making it for yourself or for a gift, this works perfect. It fits the willow tree nativity scene really well. I got this years ago on sale, but I bought one for my mom as a gift and she doesn't have a stable, so I ended up making this so I can gift it to her. Another great thing I love to add to these is Dollar Tree little fall hay bales because it really adds to the overall look of the nativity. When it comes to decorating for the wintertime holidays, I always like to think about winter because I decorate for winter from after Christmas through about February. And so this next project is going to be great because you can use it from Christmas all the way through to winter. I'm cutting up a fence picket as well as a cheap 1x2 board. And then I am also going to use a scrap piece of fence picket to cut out a nose shape with my jigsaw. If you don't have a jigsaw, you could easily do this with like a cardstock piece. You could cut that out by hand. You could use vinyl, or you could look online like Etsy. They will have wood cutouts that you can just buy like this. I cut my pickets to 36 inches long, and then I cut a 1x2 to 9 inches, and then that scrap piece for the nose. So you need one fence picket for each snowman, but I'm going to do a fun little set here. So after we give it a really good sand, I'm also going to make sure that I get rid of any of those rough edges on my snowman nose. I'm going to really just round it out, make sure that they look a little bit more rustic than sharp corners from the jigsaw. And then I used this satin rustic orange spray paint just because it was already in my garage and I figured might as well use it. And then I went in with chalk paint on both of the signs. Now on one, I wanted the hat to sit up higher, so I had a larger white space for the actual snowman. And then on the other one, I wanted the hat to sit down lower, so I had a larger black space at the top for some words. Once my pieces were painted front, top, bottom, sides, then I also did the hat brims as well. Then I used a quarter to figure out where I wanted the eyes to go because I am not good at freehanding things even like this. So I just traced a quarter because that was about the size that I wanted, and I traced all along the shape. And this project was actually inspired by this image that was found on Pinterest, I think originally by a family friend that sent it to me and said, these are so cute, you should make these. I just went through and did the hand lettering based on the picture because I don't feel like I'm a great hand letterer, but I really like the style that the person in the inspiration picture used. Unfortunately, it didn't come with any additional like who made it, but it is so cute and I am so thankful for the inspo. I went through with a paint marker, just thickened it up, and then I did the same thing on the top. So the snowman says, let it snow, and then this one says, come in from the cold. I thought this would be such an adorable set to go on a porch. This would also be awesome for vendor fairs, just because the wood and stuff is so cheap. You could crank these out pretty quickly, and if you have a Cricut, you could easily do stencils instead of having to do it by hand. Now to fill in those circles that I made with the quarter, I am just using a square brush and I am going to use my wrist to kind of twist it around. That's going to give me that circle shape. Then my last step was to distress before I assembled everything. So I distressed the noses. I also distressed all of the edges of the sign just to make it feel a little bit more rustic. And then I used wood glue and my nail gun to attach them. You could probably just use wood glue because again, they're not super heavy, but I just wanted to make sure that they stayed. Then I thought my two snowmen needed a little bit of color, so I just had some of this rag ribbon. I ended up tying on each of them to give them little scarves. I think these are so stinking cute. I am so excited to have them on my porch for Christmas and winter. And if you don't want to have red scarves past Christmas, no worries. Just untie them and tie a different color, whether that be a black scarf, you do a green scarf, whatever works. And these are going to be so versatile and super cute. Now, when you do a lot of wood projects, you end up with scraps. So here is a fun hack. Now, I love these snowman figurines you can get at both Dollar Tree and Hobby Lobby in different sizes, but you could also just use little scrap 1x2s. You can also use wood beads, whatever will give you little legs onto your scrap wood. Cut it down to the length that you want and then just use some glue to add it. Here I'm using scrap wood, but you could do the same thing with your fence picket scraps. That's why I wanted to share it with you. You're going to use some wood glue to attach your legs. Here I'm using the snowman, but you could use honestly really anything just to raise it. And then I'm going to use clamps to make sure that the wood glue and everything hooks correctly. Then this is optional, but I stain it to match my decor, which is this pretty provincial color. And then once you have all of these, I put them underneath my fake snow for our Christmas village. My son has gotten really big into this the last couple years, so I've thrifted a lot of pieces. And to get it to really look fun, I like to put it under the fake snow to give me a variety of different heights on our table in our front room. These little trays are also awesome if you've got a lot of little trinkety things like I do in my elf setup. You can raise them up and it gives you a lot more surface area for decorating. So just some things to think about with the scrap wood that you have left over from any of your wood projects for Christmas. A couple years ago, I shared this tray that I flipped from a thrifted tray that I bought, and you guys loved the design, but I couldn't share it because I created it in Design Space, and you can't export from Design Space. So I've created a brand new file similar to that, and I wanted to share it with you. We're going to put it on a sign made of fence pickets. I cut 2 pieces to 24 inches, and then I just cut down some scraps so they would hook the two together. This is a 1x4, it looks like, and some 1x2s. Then once I hooked it together with wood glue and some nails, I'm painting the entire thing black to make it look like a chalkboard base. Then I headed over to my Cricut to cut out this SVG file that will be free over on my blog. I cut it to 23¼ inch wide to fit on this particular one, and the SVG was designed to fit this one, but you can use it on whatever sign you want. So if you size it to 23½, it'll work for you. Now you're going to weed your stencil backwards, so instead of getting rid of all the outsides, you're going to get rid of where you want your paint to go when you stencil. You could also apply the vinyl, but I wanted it to kind of look like it was a chalkboard sign that you would see in like a little ski chalet or something, with a little nod to my favorite Christmas movie. If we haven't met before, or you haven't seen my Christmas Vacation videos, but you love the movie, we will be best friends. Christmas Vacation is my favorite movie ever, and I just love how this doesn't scream Christmas Vacation, but it definitely has nods to it. I applied my decal using paper transfer tape. I get mine on Amazon, and it is the best because it's going to allow you to stick this to your sign without it peeling up all the paint you just put down. Now I'm using the hinge method to apply this, so all you have to do is get your decal where you want it before you remove the backing. Take some painter's tape, masking tape, washi tape, whatever you have, and put a hinge in the center. Then you can take off one side, hinge it back, peel back the backing sheet like I'm doing here, and then you can apply it and then work your way through to the other side without worrying about it moving, because I will peel the back off and then be so afraid that I'm going to stick it and it's going to be crooked. And when you took this much time to weed a stencil like this, you definitely don't want to apply it all wonky. Then once everything's pushed down, I'm going to use some firm pressure to remove the backing. Some of it's popping off. I'm using Oracle Permanent 651 vinyl here. Just use your fingers to push it back down. Then, because black was our base coat, I'm going to seal my stencil before I add any color with that same black color. Just using a disposable makeup sponge to dampen that paint on. Then I'm going to go through with the colors I wanted to use. So I used red, white, and green. I did red on the hot cocoa since 1989, the little mug, the candy cane. I did green trees, and then the rest of the details I did in white. You're just going to want to make sure there's not a ton of paint on your disposable makeup sponge when you're adding this. And so make sure you get rid of any excess and go up and down. I like that this looks like a chalkboard. It's not a perfect finish, but you may want to do a second coat if you want it to be perfect coverage. Then I'm peeling it back, getting rid of all the little pieces, and revealing my design. If you're interested in learning more about stenciling, if you've never done it before and you want a slower tutorial, be sure to head to the one up in the iCards or down in the description. I will walk you through step by step how to use it. I'm not a big fan of stencil vinyl. That's why I used the permanent vinyl, and I think this turned out perfect. So again, you can get this SVG over on my blog for free, and let me know what you create with it. Last year, I created a coffee cup sign like this in my Christmas in July video, and I didn't get around to making a gingerbread person, so this time I decided I wanted to do that. I cut two pieces to 22 inches of my board, and I ended up tracing just a paint can for the head. Then I went through and just kind of free-handed a gingerbread person and just did the best I could. I looked at some pictures, and I didn't have a template, so I kind of just wung it. Then I got out my jigsaw, and this is one of my favorite tools. It's one of the first power tools I got and worked with, and I really love it because you can do so many different things with a jigsaw. So if you're looking into new tools, I would definitely recommend a jigsaw. Now I like to clamp mine to my work table. You want to make sure that you have pressure on the board with one hand, and then you want to work bit by bit. So you may not be able to cut the entire thing out in one swoop, so you're going to get out some of these pieces, which will allow you to get closer to do your details. You don't have to go super fast. You can take your time. And once one side is done, I flipped it over to make a mirror image on my other piece of fence picket so that I could cut it out. And then I've got my cute little gingerbread cookie. I used some scraps like a dog ear and some other pieces from around my garage to hook it together with those wood glue nail gun combo I used before. And then I decided to put some wood filler down the center. Once it dries, you can sand it smooth. And unfortunately, I was able to paint it with the line not showing, but I think it's the humidity here in Illinois. My wood started separating a little bit. It looks fine, but just FYI, if you don't like the rustic, looking like it's two different pieces, this might not be for you, but I think it turned out adorable. After I spray painted it with that warm caramel color to get it fully covered, I used some paint markers and some red paint to create this cute little face. For the cheeks, I just put some red paint on my finger and rubbed it in to kind of give it that flushed look so it wasn't so bright. And then I used my black, white, and red markers, all from Amazon, which I will link down below, to create the cute little face. I just pull up some inspiration images because, like I said, I can't just freehand this, but if I can look at something else that's finished, I can usually, take some elements and make it look like something I want. I added some squigglies around the outside to make it look like a gingerbread cookie, added some buttons down the center, and then my last step to make this look even more festive was to add some gingham ribbon. I just tied it around the neck and dovetailed it. This is so cute. I am so excited to put this in my gingerbread decor this year. Now let's talk about the coffee cup sign, because I know I'm going to get questions on this. I made this similar to the one I did last year, so we're going to fly through this, and if you've got questions, you can definitely reference my Fence Picket Christmas in July video from last year. It's the same process, 22-inch boards. We're going to rough out a coffee cup, and then we're going to cut it out with our jigsaw. Now when you're doing both of these, you want to make sure before you add any color that you are really getting a good sand, just because the jigsaw is going to leave a pretty gnarly edge, so you want to make sure that you sand that down. So I didn't mention that with the gingerbread person, but make sure that you do it for both. Then I just used some clamps to help keep my pieces together, braced them with some more scrap 1x2 furring strips, and then I also added the filler in the center, but the same thing happened here. It separated a little bit. I honestly think it was going from the outside humidity to inside my house, but that's okay. I did the top white, and you could kind of see with the grooves where I was able to paint and know where to stop. Then I did territorial beige as the color for the little cardboard coffee cup sleeve, and then I did red on the top and the bottom. And then I also wanted to add a little bit of verbiage to the coffee cup sleeve, so I cut out this "Have a Cup of Cheer," which is also a free file I'll have for you over on my blog. All the details are in the description. I cut it out to about 8.5 inches wide, applied it with paper transfer tape, and then I went to town with my paint markers, adding some different whimsy touches, some snowflakes, some squiggles, and you can kind of have as much fun with this as you want. I love how this turned out. I have a friend that asked for one for their house, so I was happy to redo this again this year. I got a lot of suggestions last year to do the wood filler, because I didn't do that last year, and it still kind of popped on me, so I'm thinking I need to make this closer to Christmas if I want it to definitely not have any pops, but I love it, and I hope you do too.
That's going to do it for this round of Fence Picket DIYs for Christmas. But if you loved this video, I have 2 other full jam-packed videos of Christmas in July Fence Picket projects I've done the past 2 years, so you can check that out. I also have the 20 best wood projects for Christmas. I've got other wood projects. I've got so many different pieces of Christmas inspiration. So I will link my full Christmas playlist right here on the screen, and I will also link the full collab playlist so you can check that out as well. Now, if you love this and you're not already a craft buddy, be sure to hit subscribe before you leave so you can come on back and DIY with us the rest of the fall and Christmas season and beyond. Thanks so much for watching. Thanks to Shannon for having me in this collab, and I will catch you guys in the next one. Bye!